Welcome to the Frontline Innovation Podcast, the voice of problem solvers. Innovation isn't just about ideals. It's about dismantling the barriers that stand between people and the solutions they actually need. This is where real human problems collide with real-world constraints, where innovators don't chase hype. They study people, break problems apart, and build solutions that actually work. Because the hardest part of innovation isn't creating something new. It's building useful fixes to people's problems and getting it into their hands. Each episode, we go inside that journey with leaders, designers, builders, and problem solvers doing the hard, often invisible work of making innovation real. I'm your host, William Reed. Let's get to work dismantling human problems. Kareen Zahr is the founder of Impactus Advisory and a trusted strategic partner to founders, executive teams, and investors navigating the complexities of scaling companies in rapidly evolving markets. As a fractional chief growth strategist, Kareen works alongside leadership teams when companies have traction but need alignment across strategy, operations, and leadership to reach the next stage of growth. Her work focuses on identifying and removing the bottlenecks that slow momentum across people, process, technology, and leadership structure, so organizations can scale with clarity and confidence. Kareen's career spans decades of work with both emerging ventures and global enterprises, advising leadership teams on growth strategy, operational transformation, and leadership development. She has supported organizations across fintech, technology, healthcare, and professional services, helping them move from early traction to scalable impact. Beyond her advisory work, Kareen is a sought-after keynote speaker and workshop facilitator, known for delivering practical frameworks that help founders and executive teams understand why high-growth companies stall and how to realign leadership, operations, and strategy to accelerate momentum. Another episode of the Frontline Innovation Podcast. And today I am happy to welcome Kareen to the show. Welcome, Kareen.
Hi, welcome. Hi, William. Hi, William. I'm happy to be here.
Well, this is exciting times here. We got a lot going on, everything from brand new technology to innovative business models to people leaving big corporations and starting their own businesses. Everybody's saying, you know what? I see a problem out there in the world. I think I can do something about it. So today I want to kind of hang out with you on the front line, talking about what individuals as founders, all the way to small, mid-sized companies, all the way up to these large organizations who are out there trying to tackle unmet human needs, right? So there's a lot out there. So I said, let me bring Kareen on. I know you do a lot of work with business owners and kind of seeing some of the challenge here. But first, we always like to start off this particular podcast talking about just an experience that you personally have, which any type of product or solution or experience. We've had people talked about the experience of shopping at Trader Joe's out here in Austin, Texas. I always talk about the door on the Tesla, how do I interface with this? Just to get a good idea of how when people go behind the scenes and build a product and deliver it to the world, how does you as the consumer, how do you experience it? So do you have anything off the top of your head that you can think of that you like, not like, or you know what, it's kind of in the middle on?
So my experience with any type of product is what you want?
It could be remote control.
Because it's so funny that you bring it up, William, because I'm always on the back end helping people deliver their products, right?
Yes.
And so I'm very experience focused. I am a highly functional person. I think practically, and I like things to be of use. So as of late, I'm trying to think of, I've just purchased a house, right? So I'm in that product deep dive of what's the best fit for my function in my house. And I'll tell you that I've been really triggered by the lack of functionality that the previous owner had in how the house functioned. So there's been a lot of product research going on, and as well as me testing things out to see what fits. As simple as, the insert of the cabinetry.
Yes.
Right? So as a highly functioning, high efficient person, when things trigger me that make me slow down or feel like it is like, why did I have to wait that extra minute or do that extra thing? I definitely try to avoid that. So as I'm shopping now for items for my house, I'm trying to think of something cool. What I really just like integrated into my home is the Google Home Network, and trying to ensure that I have visualization of my house, because I do tend to travel a lot for work and play and business, and I want to make sure I can monitor. And it was quite helpful that I had things set up before I took my last trip. The funny part is, though, one of the units came. So Google Home makes a camera that has 2 floodlights on it, so that like when someone walks by, or if it's at night and I really want to see what's going on, the floodlights go on. Well, there's a mishap with it that I can't determine yet if I'm going to call Google Home about and be like, did we set it up wrong, or is this an actual functionality problem? But if you can imagine, there's the camera and the 2 floodlights, and it sits on a base. That base has a cord that connects to the camera to keep it charged, right? For some reason, it's super short. So you can't really adjust the camera to the different angles that you want, which was frustrating, because I remember having this camera in my last house and it didn't have this issue because it's magnetic. Like the camera itself, you can really get whatever angles you want. But for some reason, being plugged in, we had to turn it upside down. And luckily there was in the app, there was a way to be like, flip your view. So I had to turn upside down just to stay plugged in and stayed up there. So not 100% happy with the experience yet, but I have a feeling that there is a solve to it. I just haven't figured out, I hadn't had the time to call and figure it out. But the funny part was, I come home and my neighbor was really gracious to help me get some contractors in the house. Like, she's been so great to me, helping me. And she goes, hey, by the way, is there any chance we can move that floodlight? Because it ended up going straight into her bedroom window and shocked her the first night after I left and had it set up. But she's like, it was like an airplane was landing in my room. And so we had to adjust that too. But that's the latest like product experience I've had, where I'm like questioning what to do next on how it really becomes a better experience, Yeah,
it's amazing when people design this, like what exactly are they thinking about? Obviously, they got the constraints of time. They don't have X amount of weeks to develop it. Then they have cost input constraints. And when they finally ship it and someone tries, it's like, this is awkward. So it's cool to go behind the scenes like, hey, man, why y'all do it that way?
Yeah. And just to see, like, as functional users, right? Like, we will always have a different experience than what the original inventor of something is. And it's been like, I'm a seasoned in technology delivery, and I assist in the agility of how you deliver, but keep your customer input in mind. And luckily, technology has come up so fast where you can iterate quickly, but when it comes to hard products, it's still quite expensive. And so I think, that part of waste that gets created when something might not be just right, is just test it more up front. Like, make sure it's working before you go into mass production, and then you have complaints to deal with,
Well,
this is wild.
I know, and thinking about your house, you remember the old days, all the cabinetry came with the handles. Now it's like optional.
Oh, yeah.
Some people choose not to put anything on it. So you go to their house and you're like, hold on, how do I open it?
Yeah, and you're trying to pick at everything to get it open. Yeah.
Well, that's always a good thing to think about, because when we like finally get this thing in our hand and we're responsible for selling something, we're pretty confident that, hey, this works. So we sell it to this person, and then they come back later like with these feedback. You like feedback or complaints?
Enhancements. That's right.
So I love this. So when we talk about innovation, a lot of people think of all the coolness of the tech, but obviously it's a much longer discussion that talk about what is innovation, right? Because some people think, well, it's the new smaller device. It's something faster, quicker. It's AI enabled. It's advanced. But when you hear the word innovation, what comes to your mind?
When I hear the word innovation, it's about betterment. Is the way I would describe it. Because if you're trying to innovate something new, it can be from something that's existing, make it a little better.
Yeah.
It can be about a gap in the market generally, or a gap saying, this needs to be solved for, and it's innovative because it hasn't been solved
Yeah.
for yet. And then it becomes, something that is known and of use. So I think it's really about betterment. How can you make something
Mhm.
better, or if something's missing, how can you fill it up with something new, and make it a better experience? That's what I consider innovation.
Well, it's funny. I'm thinking now back to going to the store to get something for the new house. Now, have you seen
Yeah.
what Home Depot, and I think maybe both Home Depot and Lowe's have done? They've added the section numbers. Have you seen that
Section numbers
in
on
their aisles?
the
In
name.
the aisles. So like
Oh, in the
like
aisles.
aisle
Yeah.
four.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now before that,
Yeah.
you would ask somebody where is such and such. They say it's in aisle five. Then you go to aisle five, like we're in aisle five. We're kind of like in the middle section. We're in the middle
Yeah.
section.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now they decided to add section numbers. Aisle five near section D. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
If they remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now the inventory
They do.
system now tracks it. So when they give you this direction, it's so much easier as an experience. I'm thinking something as simple as that speeds up the experience of the people who are actually navigating inside of the store. And you think everybody should have it. And I thought about it. I went to a different store and some guy said, yes, in aisle 10, we don't have any other identifiers, but somewhere down there. And the
Yeah.
difference is like, wow, that didn't take any new tech, anything new. You had to come up with some new signage, obviously, but just something simple like that can make the experience so much better. And I think about that now between store A and store B. I'm going to the store who thought about that little thing right there.
Yeah, we made it more efficient for everybody. Not just the people who work there have to restock, right? Like, to know that you're supposed to stock it in section 4D also makes it easier for the team that's, assisting and getting everything on the shelves. Like, it is a full end-to-end structure for every touch
Yeah.
point of that product, right? So that's operational efficiency, and the labeling of it all and the SKUs. What I love about testing these stores is how their user experience comes from the other
Yeah.
people that are actually in, because I'm all about behavioral science and how people behave and how they help each other these days and what the connections are. And it's pretty wild to see too who's
Yeah.
willing to be efficient and with you, to make it the best experience for you, because I think certain companies have lost
Yeah.
that. And then to see solutions like this, it's for everybody,
Yeah. And
which is
it
great.
affects the bottom line, right? Because you get the experience
100%.
improved. As I'm walking through your environment, virtual or physical, I might buy more stuff. And if the
Right.
purpose is to increase revenue, right? That's what little thing or small thing can we do, which we normally, a lot of people want to call innovation. They think, oh, no, I got to have something big and vast. It's going to take 18 months. And you got somebody looking around like, well, let's just like use a different type of bag or a different signage or a different type of chair, or let's
Yeah.
just add one new icon on the mobile app that the help button is brighter because people can visually
Hmm.
see it faster. And I want to now talk about the person who thinks about those what we might call small things. Anyway,
Yeah.
so when you think about somebody looking at a customer friction point, which I like to call a problem solver, let's talk about the identity of this person who says, you know what, I'm gonna stop walking by this problem. I'm gonna do something about it. So I've been complaining about it. You've been complaining about it. Your family been complaining about it. Is anybody going to do anything about it? Let's talk about the person who says, you know what, I'm going to go do something about that.
What would you like to talk
The,
about?
the nature of that person, right? Because most people are going to pass right by it. And then eventually somebody will going to stop, think about it, either add something new to an existing capability, or they may start their own business. And then 3 years later, you can buy it off the shelf and people are happy about it. But not everybody stops, thinks about what that problem is, and decides to do something about it. So when you think about, obviously a lot of people think business people, right? I'm a business person. I'm going to go into business to solve a problem. So when you think about that persona, that identity, that internal
Yeah.
drivers, how do you think about a problem solver in that sense?
Well, I mean, I think everybody shows up based on the value system that they have and what they believe their purpose is,
Yeah.
right? So whether it's somebody who has
Yeah.
hypervigilance, right, where the ability to always see and assess every situation, like operationally or just in the space, can read the room, etc. That's a different level of
Yeah.
antenna that they have up all the time, and then make the decision to say, I don't want to do something about it, right? Because you have those that will see it, say something, and not do
Yeah.
anything, and then you have those that will see it, realize that, oh, I could do something about it, and then choose to want to do something about it. So I think it really comes down to the value system of each person, and the connection that they have to their purpose and their value in this world, if they're going to do something about it.
Yeah, one of my favorites is just you're owner of a business and you keep singing this long line. You walk by and you're like, okay, let me talk to my team about that. And then you talk to
Yeah.
them, and you say, we're going to do something about it. And then maybe it takes 6 weeks or 8 weeks, or, right now it's like, well, let's just add an extra cashier to the front. Or you know what? We already have that information in our database. Let's stop prompting the people to put that information in again. Right? The
Right.
small thing. And that's what we need, right? More doers, right? Because in the age of AI, where everybody can have the same capabilities, we can still end up with very long lines and frustrations, right? AI is a capability, but does not guarantee it's going to improve people's lives. And I think that's what, yeah.
Or make you take action.
Yeah.
You're reminding me though of one of my first jobs in a fintech company, and so I was in my 20s, and I was hired to take away all the non-sales calls away from the sales team. Had no idea what those calls were going to entail, but it was the VP of sales said, I'm bringing you in as a business analyst. I need you to take all the non-sales calls away from the sales team, and like tell me what's going on, because they keep getting all these calls back. And it was so wild to me that basically at this stage of this business, it was a brand new business, they were selling, but they had no sales fulfillment process. So the reason why the calls were coming in was like, look, I purchased, I signed contracts, I'm waiting, and no one has contacted me after the fact, and I don't have service yet. I don't know, So I had every single angle of the sales fulfillment process, and the even all the way through to the accounting side, the invoice, all the pieces were like laid out through complaints.
Yeah.
And so I had to take each complaint, and I had to make sure it had a process behind it. So it was really wild, learned a lot, and had to be really innovative to solve it.
Yeah, that's really starting to get into this whole thing of, once you see a problem, can you take the problem apart enough to understand it, right? Like, why is there something missing here? Is it an open rep for somebody to do that role? Did no one define that role? How did you miss that role, right? Because the salesperson sold it. Like, what's next?
Right. And then I was able to build a really strong career off that role because I was willing to do something about it. So then I built the infrastructure behind that sale. And then I built the contract management process, the sales fulfillment process, the customer service process, how the tech got delivered, like everything from end to end. So my career was able to climb because I could be a bit of an internal consultant and deliver against building the operations behind what was being sold. Because I was fortunate that specific manager at the time had zero interest in operations. So it gave me opportunity to go run everything. And then eventually I kept getting promoted like every 5 years, and then moving into what it would be like to run mergers and acquisitions. Nice. Because I was so operationally efficient and was able to deliver a lot in a very short time.
Which is very critical, right? Because there's always M&A activity going on, and CFO crunching those numbers like, oh man, we're going to buy this company, we're going to make this money, we're going to reduce all this cost. And how many times have you heard we're going to reduce,
streamline it?
We're going to streamline it, and all of a sudden tech cost goes up because the integration to get rid of system one that costs X amount technically is having trouble actually taking it out. And by the way, it's a 6-year contract. You can't say that money for another 3 years. Like, what? Whoa. Yeah. So let's talk about these, which are the details matter, right? From an operational standpoint.
Yeah, they do.
And I think when you see things work very well, even like a restaurant, or you roll out this new application, when things work and work well and seamless, that's because of the people behind the scenes. And then sometimes you get inside of organizations and you're looking like there's some friction in the org because of maybe political infighting. There's just not clear defined roles. So talk about some of your experience of seeing how these orgs are structured, how people collaborate, how they work, with maybe some leadership gaps that really kind of hold back some organization from delivering that value.
Yeah, I mean, I have yet to be called into an organization that didn't require some form of restructuring. And in order to approach it, I really always I go into companies and I look at and do an assessment first. I look at people, process, and tech with leadership in the middle. And I do a full end-to-end assessment on that. As I assess, then I'm like, okay, now change has to happen. Do they want me to assist them with the change from my findings? You know, and it's critical in that you have to be able to be um, understanding, but not necessarily compliant,
Yeah.
I guess is the right word, when you come in as a senior person looking at a firm or being called in to come help us, Kareen. Like I literally get that all the time. Will you come help us? Like we're trying to do XYZ, but I don't know if we have the right structure, the people, etc. And we're still just trying to keep the lights on what we're building right now, but we still want to go this, 10 miles ahead. So in that effort, it's been interesting where, and the work I love to do, where I think people get stuck the most is I always ask, well, who do you have to become in order to lead where you're trying to go? And that gap analysis is really the sweet spot of what I like to work with, because it's not just an operational problem or a technical problem or even a people problem. It is a leadership challenge to say, we don't know enough. We might need some support. And this is the way we want to grow ourselves in order to lead this next version of what our company is, and also feel that the people we have right now can come along for the ride, and have it happen with us.
Yeah, because a lot of executive teams are like stressing out right now, right? Obviously with AI, and then just the threat of, hey, falling behind your competitor, trying to figure out what can we do to bring this on board ourselves and maybe improve time to market, offer new services, new offerings. And then they look around and say, oh man, my team isn't ready. Or are we moving too fast? And then you can get in some trouble, people get in trouble with compliance and legal issues because they're moving too fast, right? And then maybe breaking quality. So talk about just those risks and rewards here of having so much newness where people say, we can just do anything, right? You can supplement your team now with AI agents, and then you can build something overnight and then ship it out. And wow, you can just push it out into the world and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I think if I were to advise any company trying to implement AI into their firm, it's still to first focus on who is all this activity for. And if you're not clear on the gaps that make it better for your end client, then you're probably creating a lot of noise in your infrastructure internally without understanding how it impacts who it's for. So I think AI is an amazing, amazing tool. Like I use it daily. I'm in all the systems. I try to build efficiency through it, but I'm not going to replace it everything with AI, because that is not what my client base needs. Right. And I'll tell you that I did clone myself in AI. You can go talk to her.
Oh, okay.
You can have a coaching session with the AI version of me if you'd like. But most of the time, people want to come work with me. Right. Like they want me to be there alongside them, because ultimately we are all still human. Right. So, yes, can AI come in and bring in efficiency? Operationally, sure. Can you replace certain roles with AI agents? Yes, but your quality control then has to increase. Like I just was working on a tool right now that I had built via AI, and the calcs just stopped. Like it just stopped. And if I had delivered and used this with a client and it just stopped for them, that's still a reflection on me and my business. Yes. So if you don't have consistency and quality control in place, and now everybody becomes somewhat of a developer now, but you don't really know what a software lifecycle looks like and what it means to have something of quality go out the door and maintain it, that piece needs to be learned, of course, to sustain in where we're at. So I like to look at AI as a tool, yes, to enhance the way we are gathering information, making decisions, like informative decisions, and then testing it in the market that we're trying to work with. But don't replace everything with it, because then you're really going to get farther and farther away from the market you're trying to serve.
Yeah, just start to kind of blur the lines of responsibilities and accountability. All of a sudden, it's like, hey, your customers just got billed this weird thing because an AI agent went off the rails, and they bring you in and say, hey, so why did I do that? Well, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
exactly sure. What do you mean not sure? Well, I handed it a task. So you kind of bypass all this institutional knowledge you had over your company could have been in business for decades. You had all these team members working together smoothly, and you just kind of threw this thing in very quickly because, hey, it looked very nice. Or on the other end, I've seen the problems where people all of a sudden say this is free and low cost, and then later,
Use it instead. Right.
now all of a sudden you're making 10,000 API calls an hour. All of a sudden the cost goes up because, like, well, when you tried it out, it was free, right? Everything in AI just free. Well, hold it now, it's not free, right?
Right.
So I think people sometimes are running a little bit too fast. At the end of the day, they can't really answer what's getting better for the customer or what's the improvement that you can actually market and say our customer now can do X versus competitor because we did this. If you just say
Right.
our product is now AI enabled, I mean, what's the advantage? And I think marketers and sales people,
Yeah. What was disabled before?
yeah,
And did it matter?
yes,
And did it matter? Right? Who's it making it easier for? I think that's the new learning that goes along with this new tech stack, because that's all it is. It's just a new
yeah,
tech stack for us to use, and figure out the adaptation of it, but also decide if it works for us or not. And there's still going to be industries that demand a slower human-based process, because that is what's best for that type of service.
what is the other thing?
That's all
Yeah,
true.
let's tell it. Features versus benefits. Because man,
You're right.
those sales experiences can just be so wonky just because they listen to all those features, and now you just tag everything AI enabled in front of it, and then you're talking about this long history of the company and all the stuff it can do, and the person like, should I buy from you? Like, I'm not seeing it. What is it? I don't. The benefit's not obvious to me. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Now we talk about a lot of this problem understanding, taking it apart, and then we eventually move to the point where we say, you know what, we think we can do something with this problem, maybe to solve the entire problem, or maybe just some symptoms or a portion of it. So we got to go out there into the world and ideate. So now with all these new capabilities, you can ideate faster, right? At least in the virtual environment, which is good. And then you go out there and design something, and then sometimes they design something, build it, and then they push it out to the market. And people start clicking on it and
Yep.
say, let's go buy it. And then 6 months down the line, you come back and look at the numbers and something's off. It's like, what's going on here? People aren't buying it. What's going on here? Let's talk about that thing where you think this fantastic product or service. The website looks good. The sales ads look good. And then you go back to manager. Manager's like, something's off here. Either they bought it and not using it, and then it's telling off, and now people aren't talking positively about it. So let's talk about this kind of ownership of, did you deliver value, or did you just build a product that actually initially looked good?
So the way you assess market value, right? Because that's what you're
Yeah,
talking about. It's like when a product is released, there's hype generally
yeah,
upfront that requires a lot of initial marketing and access to it and
yeah,
excitement about it. And then people think like it's almost like, you remember with albums, you'd have like that one hit
yeah,
wonder. And it's like, well, what happened to the rest of the
yeah.
album? You had to buy the whole album just to get the one
Yes,
song. Now you can make millions of dollars off one song. Well, it's different in the product
yeah,
space, right? Where it's now you have to ensure that what you put out into the market, again, it's all about your end user. And if you don't have the right listening skills into what is the user
yeah,
saying, what's their feedback, is it, if they're a one-time buyer, is this the right price point for it, is our market, like, what's the market trend, is this a seasonal item that's only going to sell in
yeah,
September, so like our whole business is based on a September sales run? Are we competitors, are they coming in lower? There's so much to analyze, to assess, but if you're not listening and then looking at the data, then you might be waiting too long before you pivot or change. What is it that you're going after next in order to make the right enhancements to keep this as a viable business? And that's just standard practice of market value management. And you have to be able to hedge in enough time to know when you're investing
yeah.
again, or when you have to pull it off the shelves if it's a hard product, or stop offering it as a digital one. So there's so many factors, but I would say the listening part has to be set up before you even launch. And then your response to it, like you have to have a listening team. So that could be with insights, it can be with surveys of your customer, it can be just the listening activity. What are the customers saying when they call in? If there are complaints, how are you compiling them? And then you have to go through change management to ensure that if we still want to be in this business, and if this is the product we still want to put out into the world, product or service, this is what they're saying they want from us. Are we willing to actually make the change to make that happen? And then that's how you continue to build your business in a sustainable way.
Yeah, especially when you got to figure out the actual potential cost of servicing that solution out there in the market over a long period of time. And that's because your salespeople are going to tell you, right, that's a warm lead. We can go keep reintroducing new things to that. However, if the organization decide to cut corners somewhere and maybe support kind of slacks out over a period of time, because another manager said, hey, we need to go in this other direction. I'm going to pull some developers away. I'm going to pull some capital away. And then you figure out 18 months later, man, the quality's starting to go down and it's slower to fix bugs. And then that clear roadmap all of a sudden started to get blurry. And of course, a lot of people will say point fingers at the field sales team and say, hey, it's your fault. Come on, let's hop on it. And you get into this weird thing where now all of a sudden we're trying to do incentives to give you a discount. And then we look at the other side, they're like, I don't need a discount. I just need you to maintain your quality. And then you say, well, it's a marketing problem now. No, it's a product management. So talk about this, this role of leadership to avoid this, to figure out, is it a product problem, marketing, sales? Is it something in the market that's happening? Say, you know what, this is a macro outside issue. It's not an internal. So we can adapt versus saying, we're going to blame this particular team.
Well, so, that's a leadership problem anytime you have an environment where blaming is accepted versus solution-oriented thinking, right? So if I always believe you're as strong as your weakest link. And so if there's an area of feedback that's like, you know what, we're saying product's not changing it. Well, then, okay, what are we all going to do to support the product team to ensure that they can solve for this? Because that's best for the business. Our united front in general is being challenged all the time because everybody feels like they're going into survival mode just to keep their job. And then when you have a survival mode environment as a culture, you are going to guarantee mistakes across the board because people are holding back from saying what they actually want to say that could be best for everybody because they don't want to be on that chopping block. So the blame game and the finding fault and, putting it on a person versus treating it like we are all in this business together. What's best for this business? What's best for this product? How do we come together to deliver against it, regardless of who that person would be to step up and do it? If everyone started showing up that way and it was being led that way, you'd have happier customers, happier team members, like better product to be putting out in the world with that type of approach. So if there is that kind of tense energy, then of course your clients are going to feel it. And I don't know how businesses continue to survive knowing that that's in play. And no matter what is coming into the bank and seems like a successful company, if that is a true culture energy of that firm, it's only going to go so far before it explodes and bleeds into the client experience, which then when customers start to walk away, you don't have a business anymore.
People say, hey, our renewal rates are going down. What's going on? Maybe it's something we've been, we've created the wrong environment and we're part of the problem that's generating that downstream. But you can't see it in the first couple of quarters because the numbers are looking good. And then you move on to the next thing.
Well, it's also like, I can't stand too when I've gone into companies. Well, this is how we've always done it. I said, well, if you're calling me in, then there's probably something going on that shouldn't be done anymore. Because if it's always that way, then you would be having the success you desire, but something seems to be missing. So what are we going to face to change and everyone get on board with this change so that we can actually move together as a company?
And it's funny also to see teams, like especially marketing, where they struggle to get like customer testimonials and maybe they only focus in on it when they really, like the numbers are down. And it's weird when you think about it, because you're making a great product solution, you support it well, it's a great price point. It shouldn't feel like it's pulling teeth just to ask a customer. So what do you think about it? You like it? You're good? The experience of buying it was good. Ongoing support's good. But a lot of companies are struggling with this basic thing and they create this weird marketing campaigns, which are kind of weird. And it's like they talking around everything. It should be like anybody in your company should be able to go up to a prospect and say, hey, what do we do? This is the value we provide. And I can show you the last 20 people who bought this and they're happy. But there's, I think sometimes sales and marketing teams make it a little bit more difficult than it can be. So what have you seen out there in the market where it's like Kareen, what do you guys do? And then instead of trying to show me all these features and how long you've been in business, hey, we got cool cocktail hour, we're cool. It's like, here's the last 10 people who bought. If you call them, guess what? They're going to have a positive response for engaging with us.
Yeah, I mean, in a sales cycle, the number one skill to have is a listening skill to the needs of the customer first, regardless of if you have referrals or not, or recommendations from past clients, right? If you're really good at what you're doing and you know your product is solid or your service is solid, listening first is number one, because you want to ensure that what you have is actually going to meet the need of the customer. And I've seen the avenue of sell just to sell, as opposed to sell because it's right for them, and then prove it, with the backup of this sounds like you are looking for XYZ. I would love to introduce you to one of our other clients that we did XYZ with. And then it's a connected relational sale as opposed to a just sell it just to sell it. So when it comes to understanding where shift needs to happen, it's really around who are you trying to serve? And if your existing client base is not willing to give you feedback on how you've served them, there's a problem for sure, because if they're not referring you to other clients, then you probably didn't deliver what you promised. And so that's very telling internally as well, in order to say we falsified what we said we were, or we're actually this, we're Y, but we've been saying we're X, so maybe it's now time to change it.
Yeah, especially when we're renewing out for another year and your thing is just good enough. And internally, when it comes to renewal time, we'll switch to somebody else. But the guy's nice enough. He takes us out to lunch to check in on I only need to open up this can of worms. And then later, like, well, dude, you never knew what happened. And like you said, back to the listening skill, they should hey, you acting differently now. You sure this is working the way it should be working? Yeah.
That's right. If you listened even after you sold it to them and you kept checking in and just assess that, that's what account management's for, right? Is to ensure that the account is sustainable over time. You want lifetime customers. If you're in a tech service-based company, you want lifetime. If you're in just services at all, and if you want a repeat buyer, if it's in the product space, right? So you have to constantly be listening.
That's the easiest sell for the follow-up, for the upsell. We already know them. Yeah. We know exactly who they are, as opposed to spending all this time on these cold leads, like people who may be out there in the world who does it. Especially if you have something that has a lot of the add-ons, that's a natural fit. I know some companies will do product and then they'll expand and do services. They'll do integration work.
There's all sorts of ways to expand your bottom line. It's just, you don't want to be spread too thin, as the company providing it, but you also want to make sure that you are on brand for what you are putting out into the world too. Like, I remember when I scaled my company to its first 7 figures, it was because I just did a listening exercise. And because I had key questions that I asked the clients I already was working with. This was not a scaling from meeting anyone new. It was exactly who I'd working with already, but I was listening. I said, what else? Oh, and what else? What else is going? What else? What else? And I just did this huge listening exercise. And then I saw the opportunities from listening that I knew I could solve for. And I was able to scale it quite quickly because of that skill set.
I love that. And there's small ways to experiment, right? So we don't have to go out and invest in a whole new such and such, but we can experiment, but maybe it's a referral early on. Add on this extra service and see if it improves our product from a referral, then maybe with a contractual thing. Then maybe later we bring it in-house and add that capability. But there are ways for people to try things out on a small scale. Because when you think about it, every day is another day to learn as a business owner, right? What's new? Because all goes right back to the bottom line with these warm leads who are buying from us. So I'm always laughing when these big organizations, they get so distracted trying to go to these way crazy places, the conferences and the conventions and the way they run their ads. It's like, gosh, you can just pick the phone up and just have human conversations when people just find out, because it's easier for them just to add something for you than going out into this whole procurement process somewhere else to define something that you may already be able to offer.
Yeah, you always want to master the services you could provide to the people who already are in your business, you know? Yeah.
And let's talk about the hard conversation. I think we may have alluded to it. Just sometimes it's roadmap, and sometimes it's just being honest and saying, this isn't our strength. You know, we heard this problem. Either maybe what we offer today is going down, or we're going to retire it, or you know what, you might be better off going somewhere else. So let's talk about this where it's like, I'd rather you be happy and have the solution you need than basically kind of string you along just for that extra dollar.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit controversial in some cases, but I have had to actually fire clients because it is no longer a fit for the services that I provide through my company, or we've reached the threshold of all that can happen, and it's now time to move on. So whether it's at the front of the sales side or while you're even working, it's really that with me or my team, it's really the understanding of we will always have your best interest in play from what you tell us the need is. And then we will always decide mutually if it's no longer a fit to keep it moving. In the sales cycle, though, it's really easy for me to be like, this is great. I understand everything that you're wanting. That's not me. Let me connect you with so-and-so. And I will have my network of services of other people to put them in touch with, or I will help them get clarity on what is it that you're actually asking for, and this is what you need to go find, because I will always add value no matter what conversation we're in. That's just one of my core values and how I show up in the world. So I think it's really important to have the guardrails around the services you provide so that you're also not saying yes to something that you never wanted to fulfill in the first place or didn't know how to, just for the money or the reputation because it's that brand, whatever that looks like. So it's quite critical to be really clear on what you say yes to, why you're saying yes to it, and that it's okay to let it go if it's not a fit.
Good person, good human. You make contact with me in life. It may work, it may not work. And it's funny how many times later, when it doesn't work out initially, a couple of years down the line, it's a better match. So like a no today doesn't mean it's a no forever. And I think sometimes people forget about that.
Yeah.
Now, anything you see in the next couple of years? I know we got a lot of people kind of starting their own businesses here, trying to kind of get their own bearings. Some like say, you know what, maybe I can just do it faster or cheaper than the competition. And then we have some that's like, you know, I want to explore something different. There's some problem that the big companies aren't just addressing. Maybe I can exit later, but maybe I just want to tackle this for the next 5 years or so. But what are you kind of seeing in the entrepreneur business space where people are really kind of getting excited about?
So what are people getting excited about as entrepreneurs? I mean, entrepreneurial stance is an outlier stance, right? Yeah. Like we are rare breeds that like to challenge and the status quo of what's existing and try to come up with something different and new. I would say the number one skill, again, to master with any business is to go through a quick iteration of what is it that you're trying to put out into the world and prototype it or figure out that you have a buyer's market for it before you put a full-fledged investment behind going to build it and put it. I learned the hard way, hundreds of thousands of dollars into different entrepreneurial ventures that I tried to kick off that I thought people needed, but I didn't go and validate it first. And so that's the number one thing I think I would recommend for folks who are looking to step into something entrepreneurial is to get yourself into a validation process. Trend-wise, which was your other question, is what are the trends that we're moving towards? I think we're at a very confusing time right now in that so much is being kind of talked at us and not enough discovery work is being like, well, where are the needs? So layoffs are at an all-time high because, again, they're using the guise of technology to be the reason why people are replaceable. That's a constant structure that's been in place for years. It's just a matter of figuring out how do we grow all together and what's the skill set we actually need to be at the front line, right? And I think that we're in that learning curve right now.
Anything that you're really excited about seeing in your business as you kind of looks for like the next year, like, this is a really good, juicy problem, and you're like really well positioned for it. I know you help a lot of businesses out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the gifting that I have is really being that initial sounding board to find clarity, and I think that needs to become more and more relevant and prevalent in this coming time. And so what excites me is that I'm doing it at larger scales, whether it's through keynote talks or group events, going to conferences and speaking and giving people the tools to get super clear on what is it they want to go after and who they have to become to lead it. I think more human skills, learning, and experiences are going to be in higher demand in the years to come. So I've been thinking about how to generate events, connected time, so that we're solving problems together and feel less isolated. I think that is really the wave that I'm excited about, because we can all be masters of how.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. Like in technology with AI, how is becoming so much faster and easier. But I think what people are going to start craving more is the connected time. And that's really exciting to build some structure around that and some opportunities to have more collaboration going forward.
Yeah, so valuable because it's under the umbrella of an experience. 'Cause we have some companies who do nothing but products, and then we have some companies who do nothing but services. So I would ask, if you have a product, is there a service you can wrap around it that can make the experience better? Or vice versa, do you have a service that could benefit from a product? I think people are going to be willing to spend more money on that experience, especially going, like you said, in person. Like, why would I fly here?
Yeah.
Can I just do it and be quick and be over with? Now, we want to meet with some people. We'll get on the plane. We'll spend that money. We'll pay
Yeah.
premium. Because sometimes, even today, it might be hard just to get a human on the phone, right? And then maybe get them on Zoom. But you got chat bots in front. You got all this email automation going on, and the people raising their hand like, I'll just pay if you'll give me an hour of just talking and whiteboarding and collaborating. And I think you'll see, like in 5-10 years, it's like, if you allow me to talk to you, I'm putting a premium on that, and I'm going to reflect that in how much I'm willing to pay you for that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a mix of the tools that we have available, but it still requires the deliberation, or like the conversation around what are we asking these tools to do for us. And that part, I don't think goes away. As much as you can have a dialogue with your AI bots these days, it still only goes so far to then help you take action. And I think you still need each other to stand in action, for sure.
I love it. Is there anything we have not covered today that you want to mention to the audience before we close out?
Well, I mean, I appreciate you having me on. Anybody who has questions can go to heykareen.com, check things out. I love to help identify who you have to become to lead it. So I'm curious for you, William, if you know your sweet spot on how you lead in your business and what you're trying to go after, and if that feels clear to you, so that you could share that with your audience so they also know how to connect.
Yes, it's amazing, just this concept of system thinking. Some people hear that and think it's kind of, sterile, but it's like you really want to think further than just what the initial default answers are, the types of questions that are out there. I kind of like to see when you have option A, B, C is like, can we write in an E or an F? Like,
Yeah.
I don't like necessarily trust everybody when they go down the hall and come back and say, these are our only options. I'm like, are you sure? So it's like almost a blessing when you wake up in the morning and say, is there another way to do every simple thing we do today? What are the threats? What are the opportunities? And the only way to know that is to really do some deep thinking about the problems, the available solutions, what systems around us are like constraining what the options look like. Like I said, I've been in like technology for over like 3 decades, and I see the transformations and the orgs and the smart teams. And at the end of the day, it's still human constraints. So I wouldn't be surprised when you find out all this AI technology is so great that the humans are going to have to override it, right? Because as soon as you get to the AI is giving you an answer you don't want to hear, guess what people are going to do, right? People in power, people in your organizations. Just imagine HR getting a bot that tells it, you guys need to bump up the salary for all your employees. CFO goes into a management meeting, they're like, hey, what is this?
Or a bot that just goes and fires everybody. Like that's the other extreme,
We
right?
automatically, yeah,
So
go
there's
ahead.
no, yeah. So it's that leadership structure is even more key right now to be able to develop. And the advisory matters to know once you implement this, these are the guardrails that you also need to implement.
And
This is
and then
great.
to remind me, we're human, right? 'Cause I used to always be in the background in the tech side of the house, capabilities. But then we
Yeah.
start just to hear, I call them complaints, frustrations, and challenges of everyday life. And you see it no matter where you are, where in the city, what country, around the world. There's just some common themes, and you see lots and lots of capabilities, but same outcomes. And it's like, unless we direct this to what we want it to be, you're going to be sitting at the dining room table and looking across and see a family all with their heads in the phones, not talking to each other.
That's
Or
right.
like what they say, one of the tech bros are like, hey, yeah, we're going to get so efficient. You don't have to go to work. You give you all this time back. And then somebody asks, give you time back to do what? To scroll more? And it's like in this circle. So like if you're not consciously thinking about what it is to be human, what are we after? What's the purpose of work? That we'll let the technology overrun us. So I'm really doing a lot of thinking around how do you hold space for making sure that we're very intentional of what the results are we want to see in the world. What's the changes we want to see in the world? And say, don't assume the status quo as it is will always be this way. And if you really keep hearing this problem, right, we now at a point where you can go out on your own, find people with capital, find people with expertise, find these capabilities, put them together, and find a profitable business model where you can actually make a difference. And Kareen, hey, check this out. Somebody should try to build a unicorn that says they're going to make more money getting people healthy and staying healthy than the current state. Because current state is you can be miserable, you can be out of shape, you can be, have war all the time and make a lot of money. Now can be the default state. So I'm really, really trying to build this community of people who are saying we can also make money the other way. It doesn't have to be because a feel good is we can make money off you staying healthy and having happier families and societies and treating each other well. And that's something that's in our reach now. So I'm really excited about this level of frontline innovation here where we keep people at the center of everything we do. And I think we'll be in great shape here.
Yeah. Great.
Well, awesome, Kareen. It's been an awesome chatting with you today. I know my audience is gonna enjoy listening to you and then checking out what you and your business is doing for people out there who are looking to make a difference.
Thank you for having me on, William. I appreciate it.
All right. We'll talk soon. That has been another episode of the Frontline Innovation Podcast. Thank you for your time. Innovation doesn't end with a great idea or a product on the shelf. It continues through the realization that someone's problem was fixed after they used the solution. If this episode helped you see a problem more clearly or think differently about how solutions reach the front lines, share it with someone who's doing that work alongside you. And if you're building, designing, selling, or supporting solutions meant to last, subscribe to the Frontline Innovation Podcast, the voice of problem solvers. Because progress isn't driven by ideals alone. It's built by those willing to dismantle problems and do the work that follows. Until next time, stay on the front line and go dismantle a human problem.